Hello, everybody. Patrick here. Just gonna do a live coding kind of thing here. Yeah, felt like it would be fun to take and build an app. I wanted to build a multi-page website that I've been thinking up and dreaming of for a little bit around um, some streaming stuff for games that I want to build. So I figured, why not try and do that? So we'll build a multi-page React or application. We'll use Create React App. The goal here is to have React Router integrated into it. Also to use Tailwind CSS because that's really, really phenomenal. We'll use that. Yeah, we're going to take and use a bunch of the components that are in the Tailwind UI kind of component library to build out some of the certain pages. Again, with this is just going to be like the main thing. Probably not going to be able to complete all this in one session, obviously. And I'll go as far as to having a stopping point, and I'll annotate different things along the way, certain things. But I'm going to try to dig in, literally get from the scratch. And like things may not be perfect, there may be bugs, but at the end of the day, hopefully there's going to be something that will be usable, that we can take a look at, that shows some design patterns, shows a couple of different things of architecture, and so on. Some caveats, or not even caveats, just things to look forward to in this application. We're going to be using, I got it running right here. We've got our handy dandy Create React app running here. We'll be using TypeScript, obviously, of course. So like all we have here is I've scaffolded up using Yarn and Create React app, a basic application. So we're going to take and literally go to the documentation, look at things that's in the documentation, fumble through all this or go there. So the main thing here isn't to have a perfect way of doing it. It's just to explore like the different processes in place for that. So without me just yammering around here like all night, let's kind of do that and just see where we can go. So I'm gonna head back to Sketch at some point tonight to take and do some probably some high level mind mapping in terms of like different things, like different pages that we want, our components. But a lot of this is just gonna be on the fly. So if you haven't worked with Tailwind before, if you haven't worked with Create React App before or React Router, we're gonna learn some stuff together tonight. That's just gonna be really, really fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm pretty excited. So if we go here, we know that we have this here. I think the first thing that I want to take and actually do is like get this boilerplate moved out here. I don't know why, but I just always like to use ES6 syntax. So we can take and do this and do const. Let's do, I'm taking my watch off because it's already bothering me while I'm typing on this keyboard here. So let's do that here. So we're going to do const. We're gonna call it application. We're just gonna be a function here. I don't know why, but I always hit shift. Probably because I'm trying to get the caret, and I always hit shift to take it and get that, so it looks like plus rocket ship. But okay, so we got our application here. It's gonna do class names. All right. So if we do that, we should see that we're still working here. Great. The basic installation of what I did here to get our Create React app started was I just used the TypeScript template that it has for it. So I followed the natural instructions there. It gets us to the point where we can have just this really nice scaffold. So we're going to take in, I think the next natural place to take and go here is to look at React Router and try to figure out how we want to implement React Router into our application. And I have done this before and other stuff, but I want to do it again from scratch and just show I've been programming for about 10 years, and the difference is like I can't remember everything. I don't think I think imposter syndrome is one thing. I think having the expectation to remember the entirety of the web is pretty difficult. So even after all these years, I go back to the documentation because things are changing drastically all the time. So let's see if we can find what we want. I know that. Okay, so let's see here. So here's a little bit of a code environment that we can take a look and see how they're taking and doing stuff. Okay, so this is a basic example that they've got here. So this gives us a set of links that we'd probably want to have as like a nav situation going here. And then it's giving us these different, the switch statement is giving us different routes, which these home about dashboard are the pages right here. These are the functional components for those pages. We'll probably take and do a similar thing with this as we take in go. But I want to just make sure I add it first. So let's just try to kill our React thing here. And as always, as good stewards of our code, we should start with branch. So check out branch. I'm going to call this scaffold application, just because I'm planning on doing more stuff than just the React router stuff tonight. So hopefully it just gets there. We'll do Git stuff, management, all that stuff later. But like, so we got a new branch. We've updated that particular thing. I'm going to run this. I'm going to add React router. And the basics that I'm going to try to do is go to that right here and go to that basic. Get that first. Like, I don't care about URL parameters or like a bunch of the different routing and driving into these things yet. I just want to get a simple navigation with pages up and running from the library, and then we can take and build upon that like going forward. So yeah, that is my main goal right now. So let's take and do a little copy and paste here. Okay, browser, React router, DOM. Okay, so one thing I could do is let me just take in snag this here. Okay, what are we working with? Yeah, let's just work through this here. It's just default function. Call this app. Just refactor a little bit here. You can see this as it's going. So we're going to take and comment all this out here. So we're gonna do app, very similar to what we have up there. So I'm probably not gonna narrate during this whole thing, just because hearing me talk and think all the time might not be the most fun. So I might shut up, but this is kind of the life of development. So can't find React router DOM or its corresponding. Why is that? Seems odd. Hold on. Yarn add React router, yeah. Fun stuff. Already getting some compilation errors. This is just great. Did it not install it? I guess it didn't. Okay, weird. Oops, React DOM. React Router. Yeah, React Router DOM is not there. Huh. Very, very odd. Okay, let's see here. Oh, snark. Let's try it with the correct spelling there. Okay, let's see if that takes and helps us get back out of here. There we go. This should get us going. I'm not expecting anything life-changing or earth-shattering right now, but this should look like, yeah, we've got that home dashboard, so on. So we have a nav. So the cool part about this is we could start to componentize even this stuff. And that's kind of what I'm going to like to do. I generally want to try to keep it clean. The app itself, very, very light. And then try to work different ways of like keep the app light, but also build out a pages directory and components can live across them. But the paradigm that I generally try to take and do is have a page component that has containers that we could use either CSS grid, or we could build out different pages for specific desktop or mobile experiences, and then have components that fit to those containers and will expand or shrink accordingly. So let's start by doing that now that we know that we have React Router. So working. So just some basics here. If you're not familiar with it, we've got a navigation here. This link app, this link component will take us to that. So like if we hit home, go back and we see our app running, we hit home, it'll go to like our normal route, so on for about and dashboard. So these are the navs that we'll be able to move on accordingly. So one thing that I would normally take and do is the first thing is obviously creating a new component. So we could take and do that and just like dry this up a little bit, and then we're going to start to move some of this stuff. So let's test it and work through the process of moving things first before jumping into like getting some more Tailwind and working on some pages and stuff like that. So let me do that for a little bit here. So const, we're going to call this navigation, and that's going to be typed React functional component, and this will take and have some properties that we have there. So we're going to do this. We're going to do here. Okay, so navigation is going to be that. And what we would want to do is have a return block. And we are going to take the entirety of this unordered list here and bring it in there. I kind of want to get prettier installed here in a second, but let me just do this. Let me see if I can... It's that up. That didn't do what I wanted here. Okay. Okay. So we can take and move this, and now if we go back here, it's very simple that we have a navigation component that we will be able to use. We're not passing anything into it right now, so it's not going to be too crazy. It's not going to be anything that was... If I take into navigation, commented out, we lose it here on the left-hand side, and we've got it right here. At this point in time, this React function component here is a type. It is saying that this component is a functional component. This we would be able to take and do something where we can have an interface which can describe what certain things are on these components. I like to do this, and I like to have it where that we have a set of default props that we may take and do. And then what we can do is we know that most times we have for default props, like React components have children. So that's one that I always put here. And let's see here. I think it's ID. And this is going to be a children. I think we can just do like React child. Should work there. ID generally is going to be a string at times. So this is going to be like an ID that we could put on a div. I will take and either say sometimes we could put that as a string or an integer, which in TypeScript will just be number. And the next one that we might have is, this will come in the future. And this will be used potentially for stuff that we got in the future in regards to like I'm blanking on it. Tailwind. Yeah. So sometimes I like to pass in Tailwind classes, which are strings, into a component directly. And sometimes I would like to take in like be able to have my Tailwind components have like very tightly coupled down. So like default props right now, that is going to take and be something that we can take and create an interface and export it. Just create a interfaces TypeScript file, export it, and so on. But what I like to do here is interface navigation props. Here extends our default props. So what this will take and do, if we pass it in here, and then if we take and have an object here, it will allow us to take and pull out certain props that are actually on that. So if we take and set an object empty to that props, I know I'm going to get some errors because, yeah. Okay, so like this is exactly what it's saying. It's saying that, yeah, your object is missing the following property. So since we're passing back navigation props, it's expecting that to take and work. Sadly, that's not the case. So pretty nuts. But so what we can do here is we could do this, and then so say we want to have children. What we can do is we can have children right here, and our children, we could do something like this where we have navigation. I'm going to make these as ID as optional for now, and class is optional, so it just doesn't part on itself here for just a little bit. So what we're going to do here is we could take and have navigation. Our navigation component, we can actually just do this, and then it can be an unordered list that takes a list of children. And then in here, we actually pass those down. And it's breaking for some reason. So let's see here. the old implicit any. Okay. Yeah, this, I think I probably had the wrong type on here. But we got this working here. So now I have a navigation component that could take in, it's an unordered list that just takes in a set of links here, which is kind of cool. So we can take and do, just add a bunch of those in here. If we wanted to do so, we could build out the component here as well. I think it's going to take and annoy me if I don't have prettier setup, but like we'll figure this out without it. So that's what we got here. One kind of, I'm going to take and delete some of this little extra goodness that we have here. So one of the things that I like to do, the next thing is start to break out stuff. So components into its own directory. And the next thing that I want to do here is create a new navigations file. Blanking right now, navigation.tsx. And what we can do is bring all of our navigation component code over to this particular component. It should work just magically and fine. There's gonna be some errors, and I want to take and bring that up to speed right now. So if we do that, if we just copy that out, run this over, it's just not gonna work straight up off the bat. First off is because it doesn't know what navigation is here. So we had it inline in our app.tsx file. This was taking in because we were having it as another function component there. If we take and go and actually dive into the error, it's trying to take and look for this, but it doesn't actually know where our navigation component is because we haven't told it where it is. We actually haven't exported the component as well. So if we take and add export into this magical navigation file, we're still going to have some errors on this, but I think once we do this, it'll become clear what we need to do next. So if we go here, we go back to navigation, our IntelliSense should say, hey, we now know what to do. You could add an import statement for this. And what it did was it added navigation with the route to that particular components thing. So I like to create a interfaces TypeScript file to just keep track of all the different interfaces declarations, because I don't like to have set like default interfaces or anything like that. I want to have one spot where I can look at those particular things. So what I'm going to do here is move over our interface to our interface file. So our default props are there. Now we can take and go back to our app.tsx, go here. We're still having errors. So we're still not actually taking and getting it. But if I come back here, and I think it should just be as simple as an export and not deleting the word correctly, we now have default props exporting as an interface from this interface TS file so that we can use it elsewhere. So go back here to our navigation. We've cleaned up most of this stuff. Our navigation is here, but if we run it, we're still getting that error. So what I want to do is take and import that statement here. And this should give us a working version now. So you're probably thinking or asking, like, why would I keep this navigation props next to the component versus potentially moving it into like this default? It's a matter of preference. It's not a matter of like needing to do so. This interface directory, or TypeScript file, the way that I look at is global. So like something that is a global entity or whatever interface that will be used amongst many other things, I like to keep in its own global setting, and that being a higher level directory. Navigation, these navigation prompts, I could take and say, hey, I want to use, I don't know, different specific things for the navigation. It makes sense for me to read this in and near the code itself not in a global file. I mean, you can still do things where you can take in, I'm in WebStorm, so Command B gets me to like jump to the next file so I can actually read the declaration. But at the end of the day, I like to think about like what's going to be easiest for other people working in a code base, not just myself in the code base and doing things. So a lot of those things they can do that. So that gets us where we have our navigation out. It's broken out, so I can remove these different. I can remove these that initial boilerplate stuff. I'm going to keep this in here with these as children right now. The next part is going to be an interesting thing. This is a switch, so this will take and kind of. What's the best way to say this? The way that I think about this is you can wrap this in a giant div. And this switch becomes our page. So if we go here like this, and for simplicity's sake, if I can actually get things to work how I'd expect it. I don't want to do this HR. So we got a div here. I'm going to close this down. So then we got this. Yeah. So div ID, I'm going to take and call this main container just for the sake of what we're doing right now. So ID, I want to actually directly call it main content container. Sweet. So if we go back here, we can take and actually inspect our code, and we should start to see some stuff happening here. I've got a div main container. It's taking and then rendering this switch. Right now it's showing the about. When I click on the home page, that main container is going to still be there, but the switched content inside of it is now different. And so that's what is going on here. So this switch, like, if we think about navigation, that switch can also be a component too. So we could do something like, we could just literally break out all these things into different things. So like page, switch, and I'm going to go like this, page switch, and again, we're going to use React, FC. That's going to take, we're going to do it without the props, right, or the interface right now, the typing, just so I can get it to work, and then I'll come back and see if there's any types I need to put on there. So we have a function here. No, we don't. We have a typo of a function, but we'll get there. To quote my one of the people I love, Bob Ross, just no mistakes, just happy accidents, and that's kind of how we do this here. So that's how I like to think about all this stuff. So I'm going to take this right here and return the entire switch from this page switch component. So what we go here, we can come down here, and if we look at this, we can get this really kind of cleaned up a little bit where it's just a page switch. Close that out. I'm going to move this up as part of just as a comment inside of here, and we're going to take and look at this as like we're starting to take and see some different things here. Sweet. So page switch right there. Route. This is getting really, really tight and nice and neat. Let's just double check to see if we've broken anything here. Still good. All right. So again, this is a component. So we could probably take and abstract this component out and call it again. So what we'll do is we'll see that same thing go again. So we'll go here, we'll come back, we got page, switch, I realized I didn't do this. I'm second guessing myself. Naming conventions, sometimes I'll actually add like the component to the TSX file. For this, since I'm just trying to get something up quickly, I'm not going to worry about it. And I'm going to, instead of camel case it, I'm going to kebab case it, just for my personal sanity. So we got here, page switch now, so on and so on. This is great. So what we'll actually do, we're just separating concerns. So if I go back to app here, if I clean up this page switch, what it's going to do is it's going to take and barf about a lot of different things at this point because we just moved a lot of different things. So we'll no longer have switch and route inside of this app TSX file. We just deleted it. We have moved it out. It's in its own component, and it's going to be a single responsibility. The main goal for me is to literally have this app page be very minimal, like, under 10 lines of code. Well, maybe not 10 lines of code, but like very, very minimal lines of code, which we're going to get to really quick. So if I come back here, what it's looking for right now is an implementation. So page switch right here. If we go back to it, it's not showing up. The page switch is not actually showing up for our module to take and render. So what we shall do here is we'll do some poor man's prettier here. And what we need to do is we need to export const page switch right here. So if we go back to our app TSX, come back here, we now have an import available for us. So we've got two components that are now moved over to their actual taking in place where they need to be, and so on. So right now, what it's complaining about here in page switch is it doesn't know where home, about, or dashboard is. And so what I would like to do right now is instead of just like bring them into this component, I'm just going to create a pages directory. And from this pages directory, create these page components now. And so like this tree is starting to build out different, like you can see how the components are starting to be there and then the pages are going to be there and so on. So what we've got here, I think we've got, what is it, home.tsx, and it keeps wanting me to add GitHub to this here. So then we've got, let's see, what, app about. .tsx, not RSX. It's not a fancy car. It's not made by Acura. All right, so file, and we've got about.tsx, and we've got dashboard, just for the sake of trying to get this back to working. .tsx. Brilliant. Brilliant. So what we can do here is bring these over. Okay. We can bring these over. I'm going to just do this for now. And then we're going to clean this up in a second here. So we got that. We got that. We got that. Okay, so we got. So these are components still. What I'm going to take and do here is change, what am I, home? Yeah. So we're going to try to do, we're going to do this. Since we have a component, I'm going to call it a page. And it's, we're going to update the syntax right there because I can do that. So we got that. All right. So, and it is a React function. Nope. Sometimes Emmet tries to kick in and do some stuff here. Okay, so we got this. We need to make it a constant. And if we take and look back in our page switch, it's going to try to look for it. And it's not going to know what it is because I did it on purpose where we didn't export it. So if we export that home page now, and if we go back to page switch, come back in, we should have a... Oh, no, hold on. I changed the name of it. So that's why it's not taking doing it. So if we go to home page right now and then come back in here, we should see that import statement. Sometimes you forget when you change things yourself, but okay. So we were working with that. I'm just going to do this because it's going to make this so much easier. dashboard page. We come back here. We go kill this out. We go export const. We're going to do our magical dashboard page dashboard. All right, we come back here to about, and then we're going to do export const. We're going to call that about page. I think I need to go back really quick. Yeah. So, keeping me honest here, everybody. All right, so this is dashboard. Dashboard is like that. So about page here, we're going to make this a React function component. All right, and let's do this here. So if we go back to our page switch now, come back here, it should be crying to say, import me, import me. And I do. And we come back here. And boom, we got that. We go back to our app. We kill these functions. And now we're back to very similar to our initial initially created sorry, I'm blanking. We're back to our initially created app from create React app, but we're seeing a different error. So round page, I think this is because I've changed route path. Okay, let me look at this really quick here. Page switch. About is not defined. Let me kill this and restart it and see if that actually helps. Sometimes things hang. So we're at home, we're at the about page, and then we're at the dashboard. Look at that magical stuff. Okay. I'm gonna do this for the time being here. Okay, about page, dashboard page, so on. We've got our app TSX. We've got our navigation, our page switch. We can even take and make this even simpler too, where this entire div is called, like, the component is like page wrapper. And let's do that. Let's just do that just for the sake of this. Cleaning this up just a little bit. So we never, like, my goal is to like never have to come into this app TSX to do much of anything else ever again. I know that's not the case, but that's wishful thinking, but let's just try that here. So if we go here, we can move that up there into page wrapper. We can do export const page wrapper. This may help us, like, when we start to do like some context and stuff like that, to have that like at the app level and so on. I'm not intending to use context. I may use some use state in some of these components, but I'm not trying to take and do a ton of work with that at the current moment. Like, again, my main thing is to get a site built looking pretty nice from the UI perspective. So React FC equals magical rocket ship, this return. We are going to return this div with navigation. Bring this down here. Bring this down here. Bring this, so on. And what we've got here. And if we go to app TSX. So to rip this out here. We can rip this out here. We can probably get this to a single liner right there. this is going to be our page wrapper component. Export it there. Boom. We got functionality here. It's working. And so on. So we've got this navigation, the switch. So navigation, link, and switch. It's good. Let's see if this is going to auto. Okay. So 12 lines on our app.js or app.tsx file if we take and go that route. Fully working. Now this is expandable. Now if I want to do stuff, I can add a page. Now if I need to add page, I can add it to this switch. This switch becomes like my router. And I could probably call this a router instead. I think I actually like that better in terms of like what it's actually doing. So I'm going to rename this really quick here. Router. So it's going to break because obviously this is looking for page switch, which we don't have in router, but we do have router and router now. And so like now we've got a so app.tsx, we have a, I'm going to do this. Just because it's allowing, yeah. So like browser router, and then now we have a router here, which tells us like to do the switch on all these different things to take and render our certain pages. Now, if we need to take and build out another page, we would just like copy a route and take and do stuff. And then we can take and go back and work on the work with the documentation and so on to take and, pass down props, IDs, different things to have different things, certain things in the page accessible, so on. And I think that's going to be beneficial. I don't think that's what I want to get to tonight. I'm more interested in trying to build out some of this UI logic. So I think this is a great stopping point for this. And I'm going to just look at and see what I have here. I'm going to update some things that I haven't added yet. So I'm going to add something to the get ignore. That should take a couple of these out. So now I have get ignore, app.tsx, package.json. We have all of our things here. I'm going to do some cleanup here and call interfaces and move that there. So that should take, and what that should have done is if I go back to navigation, it should have updated the directory. Like it does a deep search on things and updates the directory when necessary for you. Really great. One common thing that I also take and do here is I'll create a services directory because I will use some services. I will write some raw TypeScript potentially to take and do things. I'm trying to think of any other different things. I don't want to get Storybook up today, so I'm not going to worry about that. But yeah, let's do this as a commit. So this would be, just double check here. Always check your work and always commit often. One of the easiest ways to take and help yourself not deal with stuff later. So, okay, .id. So look at how we've created, this is the app.tsx, how it went from the blanket thing to literally just a router and our pages. We've made some nesting, so there's some inheritance and so on that's there, but I like this. This gives me all warms and fuzzies right here. So we've added our React router and our DOM. Perfect. We've got that. We've got some stuff there. We've created our about page scaffold. So the cool thing too is if I actually just wanted to, before we just like go in here, if I wanted to take and go here and take away the navigation and just have this, I have these pages now available to me. So you don't have to have the navigation itself. Like you just have to have this link component that is coming from React Router DOM to take and change you from a page if you want to have that. So let's just say you want to have like a nav and like a footer. Just having a link component from React Router DOM will allow you to take and navigate those pages. If I go back here, we should get to the home page, which is going to be super great for what we want to do. I'm just going to keep this here for now, for sanity's sake, so we can see that. But yeah, I wanted to mention that that was something you see there. So just double checking the work here. And okay, actually want to take and bring in another library that will help us in the near future. It's really, really. Actually, I'll do it in the next one. I'm not going to get too ahead of myself. So, let's do this. Would you like to update? Ooh. Okay, so get status, got a bunch of stuff there. Get diff. We just looked at that. Awesome. Get add, get commit. All right. So we are going to call that scaffold React router and create React push. Well, so yeah, so I've actually created a Git, but I don't have it on GitHub, and I'm not going to take and do that. I'm just going to take and just roll through this right now here and worry about that stuff later. So let us move on. So, okay. So I said in this little brief of what we were trying to do and what we're intending to do is we're trying to build a multi-page website. We technically have that right now. So we should be able to take and do that and run that fine. The next is we've integrated React Router, which is great. The next thing that I would like to do is try to take in, integrate Tailwind into it. And so Tailwind is a pretty sweet technology that allows us to have a, best way to say this here, let me get back to my browser and go back here. So it's CSS, it's class-based, it's very similar. It's a CSS framework that's class-based. That's very similar to what Bootstrap allowed you to do. However, it is money. The biggest benefit that I've seen from Tailwind is some of the post CSS processing and some of the things that does around purging your CSS. So what it will do is, since it'll take and run it'll run over your code after you've compiled and you've built it, and what it will do is it will take and remove any unused CSS classes that you have from the code. So that is really cool. So it takes a library that's, I think, 275K, and it reduces it down to the bare minimums of what you have used for it. So say you're using 10 classes, it might be only bytes worth of data that's actually transmitted to the user. This is super beneficial in a world where, you know, some users have supercomputers in their pocket, but also some people don't. And so if you're trying to take and do that and work with it, it's pretty nice to have. So there is a preface for this. I have done this with Create React App once, and I did have some challenges. So let me let's just try to see if we can go. I had to take and do this like Krakow config thing. So this might be a little bit more challenging just as I'm starting to get in there, but let me let's do this. And I think I actually even have code for myself when I did this previously. Let me see if I've got it nearby. I'm looking off screen right now. Yeah, I've done this already, so it's pretty cool. I have a repo of this elsewhere, but Like literally it's 295K when it starts out, and then after it's done, your smallest thing is 1.6K when you build it. It's pretty remarkable to see that actually happen. So I'm going to reference this as I'm doing this because I think it's important, but um, yeah, don't have any problems. We're going to try to do this again on scratch here. So change this here. So okay. All right. So let's get going here. Okay. Did I put these as dev dependencies? Yeah, I do. Okay, so just forgetting. I think it's just D as well for yarn. Yarn as dev. Yeah. Oh. Done that already, so I can move that here. Okay. So I've done this. Pull from here. Post CSS. Very long. Oh. Yeah, that's me being an idiot from. Okay, so if we go with this. Post CSS is a dev dependency. What the heck? What did I do? Okay. I'm using a working mode that I've done in the past, so I'm going to try to use that, and then I did have some issues the first time I did set this up, so Tailwind. We're gonna do this. This should help purge working. Okay. I created an assets directory because I think that's where I wanted to have everything. Assets. Some stuff that I needed. I added this. So it's going to take and run post CSS to this. It's going to take a look at this source assets Tailwind CSS and create a main CSS file that we can actually take and do, which is the Tailwind library. So really cool stuff. So if I take and run here and come down here, it's probably going to be an error because I think there was something with post CSS 8 and 7 support. So I'm not having faith that this is going to work, but let's see if it does. Yarn launch. This is what I'm hoping is going to happen is that at least we're going to get an output. So yeah. Yeah, we got to get the post CSS CLI running. The dev dependency. Boom. Okay, we got some errors here. Two seconds here. Check here. Okay, it doesn't like that as... Yes. Awesome. So what it did was it took all these Tailwind based components here and built out this main CSS file, which is big, but it's not that big, of things that we have here for Tailwind. So this is pretty legit here. Now what we need to do is we need to bring it into our app. So if we come back down here, if we go back to our source, I'm just going to take and do this as now assets main.css. So this probably is going to break some stuff. And one other thing that I want to do here is I want to make sure in my package.json file, whenever we start and build it, I want to take in run this watch CSS piece beforehand. So I want Tailwind to take and run it and take in even on local development and also prod development. I want it to take and run. So I'm going to go back to our package.json here. I'm going to take these start and build thing and replace them with some that I created. So if I take and build prod, set the node environment to production, run the CSS on it, and then run the React scripts. Does the same for start and build here. So if I go to yarn start, hopefully, big money, no whammies, no whammies, it should be doing what we'd expect it. Since we're already running it, I should probably kill it here, and I'm going to start over again. So if I go to yarn start, it's going to take and run this watch CSS. If I come back here to our application that we have running here, we should have Tailwind running. So we'll see if this works. So if I can go here, and no console errors, so I'm very, very happy about this so far. I got links, I got pages here, and then if we just go to, say, let's just pull something. Let's just pull something. Playground, no, components. I can go button. Let me just, I'm gonna go button. And then that will get us to another really awesome place. So, button. There we go. This, and if we come back here, just for simplicity's sake, we're going to go back into our app right there. We're actually going to go into pages, about, and let's put a button there. So we should have a button now showing up that is green. This is from Tailwind. I really hope this works. And we go back here, we go to the about page. We've got a button. This is from Tailwind. That doesn't look, actually, is that right? EG green. Let's go to this. Let's go EG indigo. Boom. So what we're seeing is we're seeing Tailwind working here. We can see that that indigo color is what's coming from Tailwind. If we go to our colors and so on, that is pretty sweet. So I'm going to just, for the sake of it, go into here, which is got some nicer buttons, which is the Tailwind UI documentation. I'm going to take and pull this one right here and just show that we're working straight from this. And look at that. It changed the class name where I didn't even have to do anything. I'm really impressed by that. I usually had to take and do that. So come back over here to React app. That is a button. This is 100% a Tailwind button using this stuff. So I think the cool part now is without a ton of effort, we've got in our Tailwind. I'm not sure what I was doing before to take and mess it up so badly. But let me take and show what happens when you take and do this in a prod mode. So if you take and run yarn build, let's actually run from our package JSON. Let's yarn build prod. And what this will do is give us some output of what's actually happening. So yarn build prod, if I can type right now, it should work here. Doing this here. So it's going over, it's looking over all the different things, and it's looking for anything that it's going to take and do. It's going to create an optimized build for this, and it's going to look to rip out CSS classes that are not necessary from that main.css file here. So you can see that our CSS was literally 101.87K just because of that. So like the library itself is not that. And so what you can actually do is, it's really nice because we now only have a spot where we don't have to worry about, I'm going to rephrase that. We do have to worry about what we take and do, but as long as we have a disciplined action as how we take and build out our code, we should be able to take and have a really good output for our end users. So, and then if we run yarn start prod, just to show that it's taking in, we're dead right here, but if I run yarn start prod, it'll run, it'll pull the assets through. It should, it's doing a development server for it. Oh no, I have to serve it up. So yeah, never mind. Disregard that. Edit out that piece right there. So cool. So now we've got Tailwind in. So I am going to think that that's another great spot to take in, start to commit and just review some stuff. So let's do that, and then we can start actually building out some page stuff here, or at least looking at the Tailwind UI library to see like some of the stuff that we might want to take and build. So we've got this, we're going to add the button there. I like that. We're changing over from the index.css to the main CSS. That's Tailwind. We can still add things into main CSS. I would not do that. I would understand that these are cascading style sheets. So if we need to add anything additional, keep main CSS as what it is from Tailwind, and then have another thing that extends from that. I personally would use Sass, but like I found that in projects that I've done with Tailwind, you don't need to take and do a ton of stuff around that. So this is just some post CSS purge stuff. I'm really happy that probably like an hour into this, we've got almost exactly where I'm wanting to be. This is phenomenal. So just to that. Yeah. So the big thing about, like, I won't go into the detail about the Tailwind config file right now. But that's where you can take and do a lot of like customizations in terms of, so say you have a specific brand color palette that you're using for an application, and you use a different hex value from red. So like say you use Houston Rockets red versus St. Louis Cardinals red, and they're different hex values. Tailwind ships with a taking and gives you an option to have colors based upon background red and then a percentage, so 50, 100, 200, so on. The Tailwind config allows you to have variants where you can take and specify the red off of that, and then it will automatically change the color palette up and down for you for where you have that. So it lets you have a lot of granularity in a code as configuration in code, so you can see what's going on versus it being at runtime or just even obfuscated even further than that. So yeah, let's get this checked in and let's like work and see what we want to kind of do. Get status, get add, none of those, get commit. Okay, and added Tailwind config or Tailwind to application. Very happy about this. Git push. Nope, we're not going to do git push because I don't have that there, but we're going to do that later. So I'm going to do that off camera later. All right, so what do we have here? We are not running anything. If I take and go here, we are completely here. We don't need our Krakow, which I thought we might have. we can take and see that our app isn't running. Let's dive into what Tailwind UI is. I'm going to open this in another tab here really quick, just so people can see. So Tailwind UI is from the creators of Tailwind CSS, and it is a set of components that they've built out to take and look great and work with Tailwind. So like if you want, you can use Tailwind just straight to create your own components to match any design that you have potentially from a designer or from different places. But Tailwind UI is a fairly affordable way to take and get some very, very nice pre-built themed out components for you to use. Lifetime bundle for $250 with assets into Figma and other things. So like you could bring these assets into like this design library into Figma, so designers or people can take and work with them in that when that's going from a wireframing stage to a low fidelity to a high fidelity to a final design step there. So it's great. I think it's got a lot of different value built into it. The main goal of which being allowing people to get things out the door quicker, or scaffold different ideas. So they Tailwind UI comes in and has kind of two different bread and butters, and I'll make this bigger so we can actually see it. They take and basically have a set of pages and shells that are for marketing type pages, landing pages, and then also application-based type pages. And so it's really split up. There's not a reason you would need to. You can use a marketing page with components from the application and vice versa. These are just ways that they've been segmented out. So hero sections, like you've seen common things, like you've seen this before, where large part of your page above the fold takes and usually talks about like the value proposition of what you're trying to do and so on. This obviously has a link and so on. Whenever you see requires JS, Tailwind is literally just HTML and CSS classes. So this particular implementation, it also has it's mobile responsive built into it by nature. This implementation where you're trying to take and have this menu pop up and open requires you to take and have JavaScript to take and handle that. Fortunately, some of these implementations and different things like these interactions are fairly easy to code with React just by using state. So like, for example, like you have a menu, you set state to open on click and so on. It's fairly simple, but that shouldn't discourage anybody from taking and using these. I did want to make sure that people know that like this is built on, you're taking and building for your lowest common denominator screen of mobile first, and then taking expanding out and so on. So just keep that in mind as you're taking and building things out. So hero sections, like they count a lot of beautiful different things. There are, if you go into, again, to Tailwind UI, not as a logged in paid user. I am a logged in paid user. So, and I can say it's worth its weight in gold already. If you take and go in not as it, you can still use certain things that they've provided for you as a preview. So anything that doesn't have like a lock on it, you can actually go in and use. And so like this is just a PNG of what the toggles are. If you want, you could pay to upgrade to see that as full code. So like hero sections, they give you like the hero section we literally just looked at a few seconds ago. Right here, fully, like if you click on here, you get the code that you could take and work with. And again, the cool part is they're doing React support soon. So all these class names you won't have to take and do as a first change. Like literally, if you copy and paste something into your React code base, you won't have to convert every class to class name, which it's an easy replace. I've also noticed that the hero icon is a pain in the butt. So like anytime I pull something over, you'll just have a tidying up task to do. So without further ado, let's jump in and kind of look at some of these things here. So what I'm trying to build with this application is kind of this website is a marketing website. It's less of an application. Um, but I do want to take into consideration like some of the stuff that might be down here. Um, the constraints that I want to take and have for this page is I want to take and have, or this site is, it's going to be for streaming. So I'm going to start to take and do more streaming around gaming content. And I want to be able to have a landing page that's got potentially um, content being like audio content, video content, blog content, so on. A source for that. I would like to have a place where I could have like a grid view layout of videos that people could do, like a search page that people can land on, a grid view layout of potentially like a blog itself, and then I definitely want to have like a like you are live streaming page where it's just like a theater mode. So like you come into it in there, and then obviously some contact stuff and so on. Those are going to take and be out there, but I think starting small with like just getting some things on the pages incites my creativity to take and figure out what to do. So I'm not going to worry about logo design right now. I'm not going to worry about like a ton of color. I'm worried about just trying to scaffold out certain pieces onto the page to take and make it so, yeah, we can get just like get the creative juices flowing. So let's see, like, yeah, pretty cool stuff. Like, I'm just amazed at this. Like, if you want, you can have a boilerplate setup, couple column application that looks really professional, really amazing. I'm not sponsored by them. I just think it's a great set of things there. There's also another tool that I've used in the past, which is called Tailwind Build. And again, not sponsored, just trying to share out some cool stuff. And Tailwind Build kind of is a thing that is a site builder. It's just changed. But it'll allow you to take and create based upon like a drag and drop. So if you don't have the chops to take in, or the desire to take in, like do what I'm doing, you can take and start from this particular, drag and drop type interface. And what it'll do is it'll take and give you the code that is necessary. So like if I preview this is a site. This is all using Tailwind. It'll give you the code, the underlying code that you could take and wrap it with React to take and have interactions and different things. It's a really cool tool. I've used it in the past. I think it's great. Again, I'm not sponsored or anything by them. I'm just giving out information. So this is a great place to prototype. I don't want to necessarily do that right now in here. I kind of want to use the Tailwind UI stuff, and yeah, just looking from there. So give me a second while I peruse here for a little bit. I think I want to. So let's see what they have for landing pages here. Let's see. This is pretty cool. Like, so say if you have an app, like you're trying to take in, like do a, I don't know, like your business app, like you're taking and showing out like a tutorial for like a new startup, like you can have this and literally all the code is right here for you to start with it. And then you can take and do modifications and different things and put your own spin and brand to it. Like that's a lot of times what I've heard a lot of people want to do is they don't want the generic off the shelf thing, but this allows you to take and get things and focus on your product for your user base quicker than like working with some of those other different things. So I don't think that's where I want to go right now in terms of this stuff, but I want to take a look at some of these other ones really quickly. So that's the whole thing. Like these are like full pages, like really great landing pages to take and do this with, like nice cards. I've seen this one. I like this one a lot. Not where I'm thinking about going right now. So let's some of these are PNGs and some of them are not. Let's Let's look at grid layouts. Maybe I'm gonna. Here, actually, I said I wanted to do blog. Let's look at blog. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, this is kind of cool. So let's do this here. I'm going to create a component that is this 3-column cards. I'm going to take this and reduce the amount of code here into React-based components. So let's do that. And I'm going to keep this up here and do this here. So I'm going to just come to our homepage right here and start our app. Start. Okay. See, our post CSS is running here. There. Our magical homepage, which should have absolutely nothing on there. I'm going to, for the sake of this demo right now, just take our navigation out of our page wrapper. I'm just going to comment this out. I know the routes that we're trying to go to, and I want to just kind of monkey around here with this. Here, this. Okay, so this copy paste obviously was a mess, and it was a mess. So I did this. I'm in React. The first thing that I always do when I come down to it from React, I know that there's going to be classes that I need to convert to class name. So I will take and do that. The next thing, so there's 62 references. I trust that it will work like that. All right. So the next thing that I'm getting is an error related to, closing tags. So one of the things that I noticed a lot is it's missing the self-close tag for images. So wherever you see that coming through, just come in and add a slash and it should work. So there's a couple places where you see image. It's probably 3 of them. No, there's 6 of them. Okay, well, we'll just get them all. Take a second here. That here. Oop, not class. We'll just, I don't know why that stopped. Probably boring just hearing my voice go for a long time. Image right there. Image. Beautiful. Very beautiful. I am loving this. Here. We got a couple more because I know there's only. Oh, is that it? Nope. WebStorm telling me where the errors are. Okay. So sometimes what this will do is React expects it to be camel cased versus not. So I need to do that on the timestamps here. That's an easy one. I can go in here and find and replace all here. I'm not saying that this is the most heavy programming you are going to do, but sometimes this is what you need to do to get something out there. Boom. Okay, so we got some stuff. So let's take a step back and understand what we've got going on here. So this is the way that I look at this. These are several different components that are broken up into one. So like several different components that we could break up into other stuff. I would see that looking at this, we have a component for this blog called the blog heading, which has a title and a subheading. The next things that I would see is we have a component called a card, and the card has a card image, card content, and like a card metadata. And so that's, and even with inside of that, you could probably have different things. So I would take in, say we've got one component with some stuff and then another component with some sub stuff that we can take and do build out from this. So generally what I would take and do next is I'm going to try to reformat this just so I can see this a little bit better here. Probably not going to do a darn thing. Yep. All right. Okay. So the next thing, it is what it is. So the next thing is I'll look in the code to figure out natural places that we can break things up, and I can see one right away. This particular thing right here, this text center, if I take and come here, text center div all the way down, this looks like it's this piece right here. So that to me, if I comment this out, come back to it, I know that we don't have it. So that is something that I can take in, bring as a natural candidate for breaking out. And so as I'm breaking out these components, I'm going to just put them as constants in this file right now until I figure out a better place to take and put it, because I might need it from other things. So what I'll just do is create a new function and just work from there. So we're going to call this blog list heading. That's going to be react.fc, and we are going to do this. This is where some of the stuff that we talked about earlier is going to start to come into play. So this is going to return, and it's going to return what we have here, this text center object right there. So I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to go like this. If I can type right now, apologies. Okay, we got this right here, and then we got this. Okay, so text center like this. We got like this. Blog list heading. We don't have anything else besides it. If we go back here, we now have our blog list heading. We have our blog list heading componentized. So we have that. It's just bare bones componentized. So sweet. A+, winner. We're done. No, we're not done. We are not close to being done just yet. So the next thing that I'll probably do is like I'll take and do different things with the code to try to just see where things are broken up naturally. So we have this div on 26 that goes to 192, which means that this is probably some stuff that's important. So if I look at it, this looks pretty similar. So it looks like we have a card, 3 cards inside of this container. So we could do a couple different things. I think this container is one component, and these cards are another component. So do we want to get crazy? We can. I'm going to do the card first and work my way back down. My goal isn't to take and convert every particular thing right now. It's just to take and make sure they're components. So the return block of what's in our homepage is very, very small. I want to break out the individual pieces and work with it that way. So if we come up here, we can do const blog card and we give it a React functional component, and we give it a little that, and then we give it a magical race ship, race car, rocket ship, race ship. What the heck? I don't even know what I'm talking about now. So here, go blog card, da, 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 da. So this is going to be our boom. Our blog card is right here. And if we go like this, now we're cooking with gas. We got this blog card component, and we come back down here. If I take and do this, blog card. Okay, sweet. Let's just add like 5 more. Let's just add like 5 more of these and see what happens. So we go back here, we should see like we got a nice little page. Very, very beautifully done for it. So, awesome. This is great. So like there's things that I know now that as I'm looking at this, I can see that I know that there's differences. If I have a video or something else, the one thing that I can see right now is like the text is different. If I click on things, they're probably different, but the images are different. So what I might do is get some data and render that from, render blog cards based upon that data. And so that might kind of look like this. If I had, say, a array, let's say data, let's just say blog data, and it's an array of objects. We're gonna go really fancy with this, and I say that, and I mean we're not going fancy at all. I'm gonna give it an ID of 1, and then I'm gonna give it a URL, image source of something, and basically build out an set of array of objects that we can take and iterate over through to take and show like these blog cards. It's going to be pretty cool. Just give me 2 seconds here. I am needing to do something. 2 seconds and we'll be back onto this. Whenever I do blog cards, I need to take the shoes off, so that's what we did. Okay, so we got image source here. We can see that we've got this from this Unsplash image right here. It's probably better to not pass that in every single time and get this out. And we're gonna, in a system, we're gonna take and actually get this back by making a REST call and getting data accordingly. So I don't see any problem doing that right now. So we got this here. This is our first object. We can take and go do this here. Long images. So we can do this. This again, I'm going to take and get prettier up and running in the future. So I can do this just for the sake of. Got that here. Let's just clean up a little bit of that schnazzery right there, and then we're look at that third image back here. We'll come with this magical number 3, the Allen Iverson of the blog card game. So that's that. Go here. We've got this on sub right. I'm not gonna go too crazy into like decluttering every single thing because I don't think it's important necessarily, but I think we can do some optimizations to make this code a lot easier to read. Go like this, go like this, go like this, go like this. Sweet. Okay. So, okay. I'm just going to comment these out so we can see this. So when we have one blog card right here, it will take a look a little lackluster. This is everything is hard-coded right now. So if I want to take and render out a list of blog cards, React will allow me to take and do this. I can call blog data. I think is what I called it. Yeah, blog data dot map, and it'll allow me to render out object. And so this is I'm gonna call item, and then I'm gonna take and give it the old rocket ship function right there, and so I can do a console log item, and what you will see, it's not console item, console log item. Okay. And what we will see when we take and inspect this, we will go to the console and we should see minus all these warrants. I'm going to do this just for the level of sake, we see our objects here that we have right there. Perfect. So when we take and do this, what we can take and do out of this map is we can return an object, and we can return our blog card right there as an object. And what this will do once we've returned this is it will take and return 3 of those particular things for us, because it's iterating over the different things. Now, we haven't associated any of the data from our object onto these cards, so it's literally just doing our hard-coded values. So what we can do next is something pretty awesome. So we can start to take and build out more information for our blog card, and that's where we come back into our interface. Our interface, we can have something called an interface blog card props, which it can extend our default props. So it's going to take and have blog card props is going to have, go back to our default props. It's going to have all these attributes that we have available for us. Plus it's going to have things that are additive that we want to do. And if I look at this back in home, we have ID is something that we've got in our array, our object in our array, and then image source is something that we have. We might want to add an alt tag as well to this, and I think that's important. But I think I'm just going to take and show this right now. So what we can do here is we can have image source be a tag that we're actually adding. And so this could be, we're going to want this to be a string, and I want to show what happens when you don't have it as a string. So if we take and go here, we're going to add our blog card props down to our data. It's going to say image source is missing from object, da, 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 da. So it says blog card doesn't have it because we're saying that it is required for our blog card to have an image right now. If I took and went like this and had this as optional, this should take and work perfectly. So we know we want to do that. So what we can do here is we can take and have props, and if we wanted to, we can go onto this magical card right here, change this to a declaration that, and call props dot image source, right? And so this now broke our images over here, but it's taking our component is taking inspecting an optional image source for it. So if we go back to our initiation right here, where we're actually calling that, if we take and go image source, which is available, and then do item dot image source, which we're getting from our blog data, and save it here, we've got all of our data accordingly showing up here. Pretty nifty, but I want to kind of make this a little bit more clean. And so I like to take, instead of calling props.image source, set the exported props as an object and then call those directly. So we can call const object, and I can call image source. And what we can do is we can go there, and then we can take and equal that to props. And I can put my semicolon there because I like that. And if we go here, now we can just drop this to image source there. Boom. Bob's your uncle. We're talking about stuff. Now we're seeing an error here, though. Since we're taking and rendering out each of these different cards, React is starting to complain that's like, hey, I need to be able to have a way to track these. And so what we want to take and do next is very cool, very easy stuff, is this ID that we're passing through. We can actually take and say, hey, since I'm using default props to take and have this, I will have ID as an option on my props. I can put that ID here equals ID. And then when we get down to our blog card, we can just associate ID to that item.id. And now when we go here, it breaks. And it's breaking for a reason. Let me see here really quick here. Type number is not assignable to type string or undefined. Okay, so what I've done here is if we go back here, the ID that I have is a number. If I go up to our default props, I can take and say that I've done it as a string or a number optional. Weird. Well, let's just do this. Okay, let's do number. We know we want to have it as a number. See what we get here. Hopefully we didn't break everything. Page. Oh, it's because ID is expected to be a string anyways. So I want to take and do that. I want to make sure I'm typing it correctly. It's not something that I'm trying to override here. It's the actual. So this should work once I go back and change one more thing here. Type of number is not assigned. What the heck? Oh. Yes. This needs to be key. I was in the wrong spot. So if I go back here to 1, 2, 3, this should be fine. Yeah, you can have keys be specifically integers, and so like this. If I go back here, we go to div, class, flex around. If I expand this out, it should have a key on it somewhere. I don't know why I'm not seeing. Maybe it's, yeah. Yeah, it was wrong. So yeah, that TypeScript there I was looking at, I want to be able to pass in a number or a string for an ID. The error that I was seeing that I had to take and wear down was like the key value that I was taking and looking at. Key's expecting it to be a certain thing. So that gets us there. So look, also here's the responsive nature of that particular thing. So like here is the cards responding down. So like you could do different things for it, but we are in a really good spot here. I want to, let's see here. Let me check one more thing here. I want to take and get this into a little spot. Might be a little bit different. So home. Okay, so maybe it is the same error. Gotta love our TypeScript errors. Darsh, what did I just do? Why? Yeah. Sometimes you just need to restart the app. Like, it's, yeah, I don't understand it, but sometimes you just need to do that. So, um, yeah. Okay, cool. Now let's take a look at some of this code. Like, what did we clean up? We've got in. Okay, so we got our image there. I want to start to build out a little bit more of this object and clean up a little more of this stuff tonight. And so let's just. So a blog card here. We've got our image that we've taken care of. So like this could be like this data that we have is image source. So that's going to be coming with everything. We could call something like, we could have blog data as part of this. It could be a object that we take and have. And this could be blog card data. Let's call that. So like, I'm just hypothetically thinking about this. So like we can have category as one thing. That's probably a nice key. And that could be article. I think the next thing we can have is like headline. I'm just creating this source, like this random thing. We're going to take and eventually have this be powered by the backend. So, and a future data modeling task, I'll probably do that. So like headline, let's call it, yeah, I'll do like boost your conversion. And then we'll do author. Janet Smith's. And we'll just do date. Publication date. Okay, and then do. I'm not worried about look and feel just yet with this, with the data. So, yeah, we'll work through that. So, cool. So here's just some small JSON that I created just on the fly. So if we take and go back down here and we come back, we already am passing the image source down into the particular blog card. We have everything on our item already. Take and do this. What we could do, and what I think I would love to do, is take and actually call this and have come down as children. Maybe I don't. Hold on. Actually, no, let me just take in. I'm going to prop drill right now just for the sake of time tonight, and then refactor this to be children just in a little bit. So I am going to take and do this and come down here, add this to here, and add this to here, and Yeah, I don't agree with this right now, but I'm doing this, and then we'll take in work through this later. So I'm going to take input called blog data, and I'm going to make this something that's optional. It is going to be an object. I think I should be able to do that. No. I'm going to just do this as an any for now. Blog card data. This is not how I recommend doing this. This is just to get us to a wrapping up point for this evening. It's been a lot of fun doing this and working through all this stuff. I'm very happy that we're into the Tailwind piece of this React build out. Very, very happy by that. So where am I at? Where am I at? Blog card. That's where I'm at. So we just added a blog card data prop. And so we can take and come through here, and this will be blog card data. And this will be what we call category. So once it's popped down, that's what we'll have. This will be our headline. And this will be our author. Blog card data.author. And last but not, oh, hold on. Oh, yep, that's our author and our screen reader. And then what we can do here is our author there, and then we can do blog data, and that'll be our publication date. Date, not data. Then we can also set this date time to that. Okay, and so what it's complaining about here is like it doesn't know what it has, and it's possibly undefined. I'm actually going to set this here as to make it not undefined, to make it always there. So it'll take an always be option there. What we could do then now here is we go down to our blog card, and we can pass down our item dot blog card data here. And what that should do should have worked, and I'm not sure why. Double check really quick here. What's going on? So that's showing up there. So blog. Maybe prop drilling was not the best idea for this. This is why we don't do it. Oh. It's a type error. So it's a type error. It's saying that it's not existing on that. So basically what we would want to do here is we can take this and create an interface for itself. So interface, let's type correctly. And we could do it blog card data. And we just want to create a regular interface here. And this interface will take and be representative to the object that we have. And so we would just take and go here with this string, string, they string a lot right now, string, all right, so we got that. And then our blog card data is typed blog card data here. So this means that if we try to take and get category tacos, it's going to take and be, no, you can't do that because it doesn't exist on our type of blog card data, which is what we're expecting right here. But if we add, now, if we go here and add tacos as an optional string, the fun begins where we come here and we can then say tacos. We don't have any data for it, but we can actually send it down here. So that's that. So we got category for this. We're going to take and clean up this since we know what it is now. We got blog card props that have a second set of data here. We can make that optional if we choose to. We don't want tacos here. We've got our blog card data there. You can actually have this be an array of them. No, it's an object, so never mind. That's right here. Okay, so we'll go back here. This should be working here. If I come down to this component right here. Okay. Okay, so we've got it here. We are at this piece right here. So we've got a home page. We've got some Tailwind right here. And we know that inside of this Tailwind, we have a blog listing heading, and we are passing down through this, rendering out some blog cards. We are doing some prop dusting right there, which is prop dusting, prop drilling. Not the best thing. In the future, what I want to take and do is have it where we pass in the children items for that. I'm just not at that point right now where we want to do this here. But to recap, what we were able to do tonight was pretty remarkable in a short amount of time. We were able to, we've got a multi-page website already up with Create React App. We've got React Router. We've got Tailwind CSS in, running, working, and exporting out certain things, which is great. We've ran across, a lot of different bugs and implementation details, and we debugged through a bunch of that stuff, but we got there. And we're using Tailwind UI. So future sessions of this will take and include building out more of the pages and building out the different stuff that we talked about. But first off, I want to thank you for watching this, sticking through it here. I hope it was beneficial to anybody. If there's any questions around certain things, please let me know. I will take in annotate this to the best of my ability for future stuff. And if there's any questions about Tailwind that I could help, and please shoot me a message on YouTube or whatever, and happy to assist. Again, happy coding, everyone. Have a great evening.